single day. I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hey honeys, welcome to my channel. My name is Vivienne.M, and today I'm actually quite excited because I'm bringing you a topic that is very meaningful to me, in the sense that, this is something that helped me move jobs or find a new job. So I just want to share with you, as the title would say, how I actually survived my interview, and how, like, the tips. I'm going to share with you tips in terms of how you can go about or navigate your interviews so you can potentially get the job, because we know it's tough out here. The streets are very rough, and I believe that with these tips also, other than securing the job, you'll also be able to be comfortable in the job that you would have secured. Not just like comfortable in the sense that the job's going to be easy, but comfortable in the sense that you are fitting into the team that you're actually hired for. So let us get into the video without any further ado. And actually, before I get into the video, I just would like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, like, if this is going to be something that's useful to you. Okay, let us get into this. So I recently went on like a job interview, and I got the job. So I know, like, some of you are probably wondering, what do you mean you got the job when you're an entrepreneur as well? I do work and I do run my own business, but then I wanted to just move jobs or change roles into something also that is a little bit more aligned to what I wanted. So I applied for this job, and guess what? They called me for an interview. I was so excited, and let me just also give you a brief about like my past jobs. So I've been on other interviews, but the problem with what I did in my other interviews is I tried to be what they wanted me to be, and yeah, you know how that goes. It puts so much pressure on you, and you end up actually not being what they want you to be. So that is actually the first tip that I'd give you. When you go into an interview, don't think about what they want you to be. Look at the job spec, and look at your capabilities, and present to them you as whoever. I came through as Vivienne in this current interview or this last interview that I actually went on, that actually landed me the job. And those past interviews, I know like a lot of you are like, but we're so desperate to get the job or whatever, so I need to pull a facade or whatever to get the job, do whatever it takes to get the job. But I am going to tell you now, most times we are not getting the job purely because we are just trying so hard to get the job. So my first tip is, when you go in there with your personality. If it's a very serious job or whatever, don't come in there and all of a sudden start speaking like, oh my gosh, or like change your language, or be you. And what that will do for you is it will help you be so comfortable, and it will ease you in. Another thing is, I know like this is going to be difficult for shy people, but don't end your sentences or your speech or whatever you would have said at that point. Like, don't give very closed answers. That's what I want to say. Let your answers open up conversation. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the interview I went into. I actually took the wheel instead of letting them initiate the whole thing, just because I wanted to have control of my emotions, my nerves. And you know, like with interviews, most times your nerves start coming through. And generally the first question you'd get asked is, tell me about yourself. So I broke down my my tell me about yourself question. So what they're looking for there is they want your professional educational history, what you've been able to achieve thus far. So that's what tell me about yourself is. But I went on to describe all that, and then at the end I just, like, from a personal perspective, this is me. And I went on to talk about the things I like, and the activities I engage in, briefly how my family structure is looking like, or basically to say, yeah, just an interesting fact, I'm also married or whatever. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't want to talk about that, but what I'm suggesting to you is find something that is a little bit of like an interesting fact about you other than it being work, because what that does is it allows the interviewer to see another aspect of you other than just work. Okay, so we dealt with that. The other tip, so I was obviously interviewing for a very technical role. So this is a given regardless, you know, with every interview. Make sure that you do your research prior to even going into the interview. So my interview, what ended up happening is they didn't ask me a lot of technical questions, but that's because I led the conversation in a way that, let's make it so personal. I asked them about their lives. They asked me about my life. They asked me about my preferences, you know, just to make sure that from a culture perspective, we are within, or we're fitting in. And I think that is something that actually was that great for me. So if you lead the conversation in that way, you are limiting yourself to the very, very technical questions, where they don't ask you as much of those, because I mean, obviously your time is spent more on learning each other than understanding what you can do or what you're capable of. And also another thing that they get a glimpse of is if you are a culture fit, or if you are a person that they will be able to work with. So yeah, going on before I divert, because I know myself, I divert quite a lot. So lead the conversation. Make sure that when you bring yourself out and you've done your research, in as much as you know what you are talking about, because I mean, if you know what you're talking about, you're going to be more confident. That's why I'm saying do your research. If it's a technical role, go read up on certain things that are technical. It's like preparing for an exam, basically. But don't go ahead and prepare. So I don't prepare a lot of those questions about tell me about yourself, what are your strengths and weaknesses, whatever. And that is because I, on a continuous basis, will assess my strengths and weaknesses, and I know where my problem areas are, and I know what I'm great at. So when they ask me those type of questions, it comes naturally. And that's why, like, I believe that if you want to successfully grow in your career, you also need to, from a personal perspective, sit down, make some notes about your strengths and weaknesses, about your goals, about where you want to go, what you want to do. Because that will prepare you for an interview before you even go to an interview, or before you're even called for an interview. And that will help you understand yourself a little bit more better. So going back to the technical aspect, do your research as much as possible. Like I said, it's an exam. And when they ask you a question that, like, catches you off guard from a technical perspective, don't try and answer what you think it is, because chances are you're going to get so nervous, and at that point you're going to get so uncomfortable, and that's where you're going to drop the ball, and that's when you basically just might lose your interview, and even potentially the job. You're probably not going to get the job. So just tell them, I am not too sure about this concept, in as much as I have prepared, this is something that has flown over my head. And what that also does for you is it allows the interviewer to acknowledge that when you don't know, you are willing to say, I don't know. If you need me to do research, I can do research for you, and I'll find out, and then I can get back to you. And that is basically how it works in the professional setting. If you don't know something, I mean, they don't expect you to know everything. If you don't know something, I think people appreciate it when you just tell them, listen, yeah, I don't know. And I mean, obviously you're not going to say it in that way. I think you just be formally say, actually, at this point, I missed it. I went above my head, and I'm not too sure. But what I would advise you is don't flunk on like the really, really basic concepts of what the job requires. That you shouldn't flunk on. So that is it from a technical perspective. Now I want to talk about a cultural perspective. So from a cultural perspective, make sure also that you have questions to ask them. Don't just ask them about what type of work do you do, or how difficult is the job, or all that like lousy type of questions. Ask questions to make sure that you will fit into that culture. So I mean, now that we are in COVID, an example of the questions I asked them was, how are they structuring their work from home? I asked how long each of them have been there. I asked how have they found the job so far in the period that they have been there. I asked quite a few questions, and I made it very personal to them, and I made it like I asked each of the interviewer what their experience is, even though like at some point like one interviewer would answer, I'd go back and be like, okay, and then you, how was your experience, like the other interviewer or the other person in the panel. And that way I was able to gauge what type of people they are. And what also that gives you is it gives you the ability to know whether you're given, like if you are given an offer, whether you really want to work with these people or not, you know. So it's not just you finding any job or every job possible, but it's you finding a place where you will fit in. Another tip that I have for you is, given, I mean, a lot of people are having, this is mostly for people that are having their interviews virtually. We know load shedding is a real issue in South Africa. So just check your load shedding schedule. And if anything is going to go wrong between your interview times, please let the interviewers know. I think they're also human. Just let them know, there's been an unfortunate change in plans. Load shedding is going to hit me, and is it possible that we reschedule? Don't wait for that time and then not pitch, and then tomorrow be like, hey, so load shedding, okay, you know. You don't want to be in that position. So just let them know in time that you are going to be load shed, or if you are experiencing technical difficulties, just let them know. Don't be mute. Okay. And then another tip I have for you, if you're going to walk in or go into the interview, make sure that how you look or how you present yourself is very presentable and is very appropriate for the job that you're going for. Like, okay, when I had my interview, I tried not to put on makeup because I just obviously wanted people to relate to me on a very casual level. But like if you're gonna go into the office or go into the gym, wherever the job is, just make sure you're dressed appropriately for the job. Dress like you're gonna be working there every day. Don't sell yourself short as well, you know. I mean, they need to look at you and be like, oh, this is the type of person that we want to work with, that looks like they got their ish together. Okay. And my last tip is your energy, guys. Your energy. Don't I don't want to sound mean, but don't underestimate your energy. And I'm not saying your energy isn't like hyperactive or whatever. I mean like your energy, your aura. Everybody has their own aura, and certain people are attracted to certain auras, you know. So like when you go in, keep your aura. Keep your aura. Don't go in there pretend to be something else, because once you get the job and you go in there and you can't keep up with whatever persona you were trying to send across during the interview, like it's just gonna be a little weird, you know. So keep your persona, keep your aura, and make sure that whatever you are selling is yourself and fully you. Okay. And I think let me just close this video off, because I mean it's that I think I've given like the basics of how you can navigate your interview. And I think also another thing, if you are a very nervous person, I am a very nervous person, before the time, try and do some relaxation exercises or like meditation or something to keep you calm, so that when you go in there already calm. Because I mean, when you think of an interview for a long time, you'll see yourself starting to get like nervous, sweating, and I mean all these ugly, terrible things. So do some meditation exercises. And for all y'all who are Christian or whatever religion, you know, take the time to pray about the job, pray about the interview, and pray about how you are going to present yourself, to make sure that you present yourself authentically, you know, and be intentional also in the interviews and in your prayers, and be specific in your prayer as to what you are praying for. So yeah, without any further ado, guys, let me end this video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends, your families, everybody who's basically just trying to secure a job. And I will see you guys in my next video. Have a good day.